So good morning from New York. My name is Dr. Tenzin, just like Alessia and Academ kind of introduced me. I will not be talking at length in detail, so I will just talk about the top 10 frequently asked questions today. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat box so that we'll be able to take care of those answers later on after the event. All right, so let's go. How do I get into medical residency in the United States? That's the most popular question, so let's dive deep. So let's talk about the application process and the match timeline. So what do you need to do is, number one, you have to take the exams. Step 1, Step 2 CK, and the OET. These 3 exams, when you complete, you will get certified by the ECFMG. Once you get certified, that means that you can now send applications to the hospital programs for any specialties you want. And then in the month of June, you will get ERAS token. That means that you have to buy token to apply. So by mid-September, then you can send your applications. Once you send the applications by September 15th, then from October to January, you will have the busy schedule of going for residency interviews. Now, for the last match, as well as this match, most probably, you will not have to physically travel and fly to places because of pandemic. Most probably, you would be having interviews via internet or, kind of virtual interviews. So after your interviews are over, in the middle of March, you will get an email that says, congratulations, Dr. Oleska, you matched in so-and-so program in so-and-so specialty. And then finally, in the month of June, some of the programs, they even start in July. So this is basically what you will have to think about in terms of planning your plans for your match. So if you want, you can take a screenshot of it, and then this is going to be your plan for future. But at the same time, you're thinking about the step 3 also, right? Because if you don't think about step 3, then you will be lost. Because nowadays, step 3 has become really important for you as a candidate to be applicable as a match, matching for the program. So bear that in mind. Now, quickly, let's understand the USMLE exams. When I said step 1, step 2, step 3, what does it mean? Step 1 is the subjects that you studied in the first, second, maybe third year in your medical school, the basic sciences. Right? Step 2 CK comprises of the clinical subjects that you studied in your final years. Step OET is basically English tests like TOEFL or IELTS. But in IELTS and TOEFLs, when you have this listening, reading, writing, speaking, they talk about different variety of topics. But OET are not going to talk about the whales and the NASA and Mars and undersea. They're going to talk about medical things, medical topics, medical diseases. When you talk about listening, you will be listening to a doctor talking to a patient. When it's reading, you'll be reading a literature of medicine. When you're writing a topic on medicine or disease. When you're speaking about a case. So that is the main difference. But otherwise, you can say it's a TOEFL test for doctors without the TOEFL subjects.
Dr. Tenzin, can I interrupt you for a second? And
Please.
Translate it. Okay. Так, первый шаг экзамена, Американского медицинского экзамена для получения лицензии. Первый шаг – это основные медицинские знания. Это тест, проводимый на компьютере. Второй шаг – это клинические знания. Экзамен, который определяет готовность к практике под надзором руководителя. И он также проводится на компьютере. Третий шаг – это сдача теста. И чем он отличается от обычного теста TOEFL, это тем, что здесь отсутствует необходимость получения хороших баллов по слушанию и письму. Самое важное здесь – это говорение. You can continue.
Thank you, Alyssa. So these are the 3 main exams, step 1, CK, and step 3, and OET for now temporarily. Now, what happens to OET in a time remains to be seen. So let's see, for now, it's just OET. All right, now the next question is, what is ECFMG, what is ERAS, and what is NRMP? So let's go one by one. Now, ECFMG stands for Educational Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates. So ECFMG is for you and me as foreign doctors. So what is their job? So, for example, just for plain, simple way of understanding, just think ECFMG as FBI, CIA, or KGB, because you say Olesia is a doctor from Moscow University. ECFMG is, now, the American Medical Association is like, I don't believe you. I don't trust you. I don't believe foreigners because you can forge everything, right? It could be fake. So you register with an ECFMG for foreign doctors, and what they do is you'll fill up a form for registration, and then you'll have to send some documents to them. ECFMG will send that documentation over to Moscow University and ask them, it's like, listen, Dr. Oleska is claiming to be your student from this year to this year. She has written these data. Can you check and verify? So the medical school is going to say, yes, she has been our student. She's a very good student, and she is an A+ student, so verified. So now ECFMG gets that report and then says, congratulations, you're verified. Now you can select the dates for the exams. So that is basically the job of ECFMG. Okay. And obviously, after you finish the step 1, step 2, CK, OET exams, then you'll get certified by the ECFMG. On the other side, what is ERAS? Electronic Residency Application Services. Now, ERAS, just think about it as a postal office, but a virtual postal office. Just close your eyes and think that you're going to a postal office virtually. And then over there, you have the postmaster, and then it's like, hey, can I get a post locker box, right? A virtual locker box. Then obviously nothing is free. So they're going to say it's going to charge you X amount of dollars. So you pay the dollars, that means you get the tokens. Once you get the ERAS token, that means you have the key to your locker box. So in the locker box, what are you going to do is just imagine that you have an envelope, digital envelope, in which you're going to put personal statements, CVs, experiences, certifications, scores, letter of recommendations, etc. So all those programs that you're going to send, you're going to put it in the digital envelope, and then you're going to seal it. Once you seal it, on the front, you're going to write to University of Pittsburgh, Harvard University, NYU in this specialty. Then you're going to keep it in your box one by one. Obviously, you're not going to send only one application. The average application sent by doctors for international countries, they're anywhere from 150 to 250 applications. So just imagine that you have 250 or 200 applications virtually stacked up and ready to go. And then in September 15th, you press enter. Every letter flies off virtually to all the programs that you assigned to. So that is the job of ERAS. NRMP is National Residency Matching Program. So it's nothing as such, but it's a computer algorithm. Let's say that you send the application, you got a lot of interviews, then you come back and then you rank the program also ranks you. So let us say I love you. That's why you ranked, I ranked you number 1 as a program. But the program did not love me. They kind of hated me as compared to a lot of other people that they matched, kind of interviewed. So they put me number 5, I put them number 1. So obviously number 1 and 5 will not match. Okay, so it has to be something like I rank them high, they also rank me high, then it becomes a match. So anyways, NRMP is not so important for you to understand because you don't have any control over this. But ECFMG and ERAS, you have the control over it. Alessia, yours.
Что же такое ECFMG? Это образовательная комиссия для иностранцев, которые выпускаются из медицинских университетов. Для чего она нужна? Она нужна для того, что, представим, например, в США есть какая-то организация, в которой вы хотите работать. Вы присылаете туда документы, и чтобы удостовериться, что вы на самом деле закончили медицинский вуз, они присылают ваши данные, например, в Москву, чтобы уточнить, что вы на самом деле являетесь студентом данного заведения, и это как раз-таки их функция. Функция Electronic Residency Application Service – это сервис для электронного анкетирования. Он нужен для того, чтобы Там вы писали свои резюме, сочинения, прикрепляли фотографии, рекомендательные письма и так далее. Также, например, вы выбрали, скажем, 200 организаций, в которые вы хотели бы подать заявку, и 15 сентября вы подаете все эти заявки, вам просто нужно будет кликнуть на одну кнопочку, и таким образом все эти 200 заявок разошлются по различным организациям. И последнее – это программа, которая соединяет вас и ту организацию, в которой вы хотите работать. Например, если вам понравилась какая-то организация, и организация та же самая оценила ваши шансы и поняла, что вы тоже ей подходите, случается так называемый матч, и таким образом дальше уже происходит между вами общение. You can continue.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next question, which means what is the average time taken to study for all the STEP exams? Voila, we have the Step 1, CK, OET, and Step 3. Now, each and every person is different, so I cannot say how much long you would need versus Tatiana versus Dimitri versus Olga versus Natalie, right? But this is just the average. Now, the reason why I'm saying it could be not you, or it could be longer or shorter, depends upon some people say, like, Dr. Tenzin, I want to study for USMLE steps, but I have to do a part-time work and I have only this. Or I have a wife who is sick. Or I have a husband who is sick. Or I'm a single mother, I'm a single father. I have a mom to take care of. All those things in life happens. Then obviously it goes even longer. But on an average, just to get an idea, Step 1 takes the longest time. Why? Because Step 1, even if you said you graduated last year, you have to go back 5-6 years when you were in year number 1. So that's why it takes a little bit longer for you to get prepared. Now, these average time is not for you to get past. You can get past if you just study on your own for about a couple of months also, hopefully. I'm hoping. But when we are talking about Kaplan preparation, we are not talking about just passing the exam, but getting the highest scores. So take into consideration, it's just not about passing the exam. So 9 to 12 months for Step 1, 6 to 9 months for CK. OET, depending upon your language skills in English, it may take about 2 to 3 months. And Step 3, depending upon how strong you are with the Step 2 CK, it would also depend on 3 to 4 months. Yours.
Общее время для подготовки для каждого человека разное, для каждого оно индивидуальное, и не знаю, сколько времени это займет конкретно у вас, но мы возьмем средние показатели, и так для первого шага вам потребуется примерно 9-12 месяцев. Это требует такого большого отрезка времени, так как наша цель не просто сдать экзамен, а именно хорошо к нему подготовиться. Второй шаг занимает уже 6-9 месяцев или 2-3, опять-таки в зависимости от каждого конкретного человека. И уже третий шаг занимает 3-4 месяца.
Let's talk about what is the best method of studying. Best method of study is this. If you go from left to right, you see this blue and the green and blue and the pink colors, right? Triangular colors. Now let's go back from left to right, and this is the exam date that you're talking in terms of the time, right? So when you see and study for USMLE, I do not know how Russian students study for the medical boards, but overall, when I travel to the rest of the world and I talk with students and deans, I see most of the international doctors learn the questions, and then from the questions, they learn the content, the other way around. But for USMLE, you should understand that you should start spending more time. So let us say this is the X and the Y graph. So the X is going to be your time spent. So in a day, in the beginning, when you start studying, A successful student should spend more time on the content, meaning through the books, through the videos, through the chapter quizzes. But slowly but surely, as and when you go towards the exam date, then you see that you've finished studying the content. That means you've become knowledgeable. And then slowly but surely, if you see the questions, the pink triangle, you start seeing the number of questions that you're doing more and more and more. And after 50% mark, then you see, literally speaking, you do questions, eat, sleep, drink, walk, talk, do questions only. So if you do that, then you'll become much more a successful, guaranteed kind of a student who will score high.
Лучший метод для обучения медицине – это, как вы видите на графике, содержание и вопросы. Большинство иностранных студентов, насколько я знаю, они сначала учат вопросы, а затем уже подходят к содержанию. Например, пометим время знаком X, и это будет время, которое вы тратите на изучение вопросов и содержание данных вопросов. Ученики должны больше времени тратить на чтение книг по медицине, на просмотр различных видео. И чем больше студенты будут учить именно содержание вопроса, тем более успешными они будут и легче им будет сдать экзамен.
Next question. What are my chances? Now, I know some of you guys are thinking like, what's my chances? You know, if I study, if I spend money and time, will I get the residency in the United States? You know, what are my chances? Your chances are great. Look at this match. Last match, we have this particular report and data. When you see this two, that the blue and the cream color, they comprised the IMGs. Now, IMGs are two parts. One is the US IMGs, and the second is the non-US IMGs. Now, you need to understand, if Tatiana or Olga were having a green card or US passports, but studied in Moscow or any other parts of the world, then they become US citizen, US IMGs, okay? But let us say if Dmitry was born and brought up and has a passport from, Russia, and he studied in Russia or outside the United States, then he belongs to the category of non-US IMGs. So when you look at it, obviously almost half the chunk, they're being taken by the US medical students because they have the first priority. But the pie chart, it's 1/3 belonging to the IMGs. That's itself a very good sign.
Так каковы же ваши шансы на попадание в резидентуру? Если мы посмотрим на график, то темно-зеленым цветом выделено количество процентов студентов, которые являются гражданами США. А если мы посмотрим на розовый и голубой цвета, то мы увидим, что это процент студентов, которые, например, из России, да, не имеют американское гражданство, и они считаются студентами, являются международными студентами, которые изучают медицину.
The second way of looking at it is something like this again. For the past 10, 11 years, we have been gathering reports, and starting from 2010, the percentage of non-US IMGs matching has tremendously gone up. There was not even a single year that we thought like, oh my God, now this is going to go down. Because look at this, the last year's match was 61.1%. So these are all good indicators that says that, listen, you have a higher chances of getting residency or post-graduation in the United States in comparison to your country. I'll give you this data. Last year, I was in India before the pandemic. And in India, you know that it's the largest population in the world next to China. And it has a lot of medical schools, but a lot of medical doctors as well, medical students graduating. So one of the students, I asked her, why do you want to go to the United States? And I did not think about it. She said, sir, there's next to impossible chance for me to get into residency in India, but I looked up the numbers and my chance of getting matched in the United States is 1:2, versus in India, it is 1:13. So obviously that makes sense, right? So the same thing, you can do the math. How many people are graduating in Russia in medical schools, and how many residency spots and positions are available. So when you do that, you'll be able to get the ratio of how tough it is to get into your residency versus here. Because here, it's literally from India also, when I compare it, it's like 1:2, which is like, all right, 50% chances of you getting in.
Также международным студентам, изучающим медицину и которые не являются гражданами США, им намного легче поступить и получить гражданство. И на графике вы можете увидеть, что с 2019 по 2020 год процент успешно поступивших и получивших гражданство студентов заметно увеличился. И таким образом можно сказать, что у вас даже больше шансов получить гражданство и резидентуру в США, чем в России. И также я хотела бы рассказать вам про один случай. Я был недавно в Индии, и одна из студенток рассказала мне, то, что она тоже подавала заявку на резидентуру в США, так как она тоже считает, что шансы поступить в США и получить резидентуру там намного выше, чем в Индии. И это на самом деле так.
All right. Now let's look at the latest match that just finished this year in March. So you can see the number of positions of non-US IMG citizens matching gone upwards and increased by 134. So obviously when you looked at last 10 years versus even this match, then it went up consistently. So these are all the good things and good news that you have to bear in mind before you say that, yeah, I don't think that I'm going to get matched in the United States. All right. Okay. What are the top specialties for the IMGs? So let's look at this. Now we have the columns here. First one is specialties. The third one is non-US IMGs and the percentage. Now let's not look at the percentage for now, because the most common question asked is like, Dr. Tenzin, is it true that, the US medical doctors, they don't take, international doctors for surgery or for dermatology, for radiology, they hate us. Now, when you look at it, then you will see now the number of positions is all dependent upon the supply and demand. So the number of students who are getting into radiology, dermatology, and the surgical fields like neurosurgery, orthopedic surgeries, plastic surgeries, they're a little bit tougher to get in, not because they hate you, but they're simply because they have a lot less seats, even for the US domestic students. Versus on the other side, we have internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, pathology, neurology, and then general surgery, psychiatry. Those are the numbers that you see, right? The number of positions are going to be much more available. That's why most of the non-US IMGs match into those programs.
Давайте теперь посмотрим на специальности. Вы можете задаться вопросом и подумать, что международных докторов, иностранных докторов не берут, например, в хирургию. И на самом деле все зависит от спроса и предложения, и такие специальности, как ортопедическая хирургия, либо пластическая хирургия, туда не берут иностранных докторов лишь потому, что на самом деле не хватает мест даже для американских докторов. А вот если мы посмотрим, например, на психиатрию или, например, на неврологию, то можно увидеть, что туда будет легче поступить, так как мест больше.
All right. Next, what are the options of study available if you want to study with Kaplan? I know that I'm not going to go into depth and detail of it because you can ask Alaska and academic consult team members. They will be able to get you. But the question that you need to ask is, do you study best alone by yourself at home? Or are you one of those person who has to have interaction with people? Now, these are the questions. This is question number one that you need to ask yourself. But let me answer this question for you, if it is you. You as medical students, they normally can study at home on their own, online, business, and all those things. But generally, an IMG normally prefers to do the in-person because that's their culture. That's how they were brought up. When they do at home, versus us as international medical doctors, we have to interact with people. We have to know something. When we discuss, then it stays longer in the memories. But again, it all depends upon you. And secondly, right now, because of the pandemic situations, then you also have to decide it accordingly as well for the meantime. All right, we have the live online, which literally means that it's just like watching a CNN or BBC or Russian TV live, interactive. The only difference between you watching CNN or Russian TV live is that you cannot chat with the people, right? But live online is Dr. XYZ is going to come and teach you class just like this. And then you have the chat box that you can, it's like, Dr. Tenzin, I didn't understand. Can you explain this again? So it's like, oh, Tatiana, hey, Olga, hey, Katerina. So you said this. All right. So again, I repeat it. So that's live online. The second one is the on-demand. So on-demand right now, everybody knows about it. Similarly, it's like a Netflix or Amazon Prime videos that you have a subscription of 12 months, then you can pause, play, rewind, forward anytime you want to at your own pace. And it also comes with questions. So that's on-demand. Now, the last one is going to be if you are interested, in-person center and in-person learning. We have a huge center in New York, Midtown. And interestingly, it's next to Russian Tea Room. I've never been there because it looks really, kind of fancy. But it's next to Carnegie Hall. It's next to Central Park, and it's always about 3 or 4 blocks away from Times Square. It's centrally located. We have students from around 95 countries, including Russia. And there are students who are studying there. Everybody who's there in school is focused on only one thing: getting high scores and steps and getting into residencies. So we have a full staff of medical advisors who will be working with you and then support staff members with any small things that you have. Then you will also be including to have 14 weeks of live lectures in between your time in the center for 12 months. And that gives you a special privilege of student visa if you want. But again, these are the 3 main choices: live online, on demand, and in-center, in-person with live lectures. So for more details about how much is it and all the things, then you can talk to Academic Consult because they are very, very fully staffed and experienced over many years as educational, our certified trainer and agent for international students like yourself. All right. Now let's go to the...
Sorry, can I translate again? Так, какие же опции? Как лучше учиться одному или с другими студентами? В США чаще всего студенты обучаются онлайн сами, а иностранцы собираются вместе, потому что им так легче учиться. Какие же есть опции обучения? Первая опция – это онлайн-занятия. Это то же самое, что смотреть, например, телевизор, да, какую-нибудь программу по телевизору, только в это время вы еще можете и задавать вопросы. Второе – это то, что сейчас очень востребовано, это когда вы можете посмотреть лекцию в записи. Это то же самое, как, например, посмотреть сериал на Netflix, потому что вы можете спокойно перемотать на то место, которое вы не поняли, и прослушать еще несколько раз. И третье – это уже обучение в самом центре. Например, у нас есть неподалеку русская чайная комната, где собирается очень много российских студентов. У нас обучаются студенты из 95 стран, в том числе из России. Вас будут поддерживать там и также предлагается привилегия для получения студенческой визы. And also, can I say we have 5 minutes left, so...
Oh, okay, fine. That's what I was about to ask. I was asking Maddie, like, oh, she's not kicked me out yet, so let me run now. Top 12 IMG-friendly states for residency. I know this is not important right now, but just for you later on to understand, this is the US map, and then these are the top 12 IMG-friendly hospitals. So when you see the red dots, these indicate the highest density of international doctors like us. Okay. Now, when you look at the top IMG hospitals down the lane, this is the tri-state of New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey. So the IMG's number chances of matching is the highest in these states, but of all the states, the New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut is the highest. So this is important later on when you send the application, because application costs money, and you don't want to send applications just like in the middle of nowhere. What are the changes of ECFMG and USMLE? Quick. There are discussions right now that step 1 will be moving to pass and fail, but nobody knows right now. We still have to wait. They said not earlier than January 2022. Option A, it will happen. Option B might be pushed and postponed. Or option number 3, they will be canceled. Nobody knows. Exams, fail attempts reduced from 6 to 4. That I'm not worried, because I don't want any one of you guys to fail even one time. Forget about 4 times. Step 2, CS is changed and discontinued to OET, but OET remains right now. Most probably for this season it will stay, but maybe in the next season it will change. Now, change to what? Nobody knows also. People are discussing it could be mini-CEX, that is mini clinical examination, right? Mini CX. So, but again, there are more changes. The detailed changes are going to be coming later on. Last question. What are the program directors looking in an application to choose a candidate? So this is basically that. USMLE scores. The highest score you are, beautiful you are, the more attractive you are. Second one is application package. What does application package include? US clinical experiences, letters of recommendation, strong ones, personal statement, research publication, and your own clinical experiences and achievements back in Russia. And then obviously, once you have beautiful scores, I got attracted, then you also have a beautiful and strong application package. I even loved you more, then I will call you for interviews. And then you know, there are some of your friends who are really attractive and beautiful on paper, but when they ask you out on a date, then they don't even know how to speak. So that's the same thing that I've seen, not thankfully many, that my students are really great and rocket scientist nerds on paper, but they don't have the people skills. So when they get the interview, then they screw it up during the interviews. So prepare for interviews. And then lastly, the rank order listing. So this is basically what you need to understand, that this is what he or she is looking for in a candidate in a residency.
Так каким же образом выбирают кандидата? Первое, смотрят на ваши баллы и оценки, а затем на ваш опыт, рекомендации, достижения, эссе. Третье, смотрят на то, как вы проходите интервью, так как нужно уметь правильно себя подать и уметь правильно разговаривать с людьми. И последнее, на что смотрят, то, каким образом вы распределили ваши приоритеты при выборе учебного заведения.
So that being said, I'm not going to talk about why Kaplan, because obviously you have only one choice. We have been there in the business for about 80 plus years, and in medical field, we have been there for 40 years plus, and we have everything a la carte service from step 1 all the way to step 3. We will help you to get through the registration processes, application, how to draft your resumes, personal statements. You have everything under one roof that you don't have to worry about. All right, this is my email. So if you have any questions that you might not be able to ask right now, you don't have time, then you can take my email and send an email to me. And I would say spasiba.